traveller, something quiet has begun moving through our sky and it has changed the rhythm of this moment. You weren't led here by chance. Across billions of years and unimaginable distance, a silent visitor has survived a passage that should have erased it, and now it returns altered, carrying questions no one expected us to ask. What are the odds that an object older than our sun could pass so close, vanish behind its light and emerge, not destroyed, but different? What if the sun did more than heat its surface? What if it revealed something hidden beneath time itself? Now far from the glare, a faint shape drifts again, slipping past Mars, shedding whispers of ancient chemistry into the dark. Stay with me. Tonight the universe whispers again. Long before charts were updated and before alerts crossed glowing screens, there was only a quiet motion against a darker background. A small deviation. A trace that did not belong. I remember nights like that well, when the hum of instruments becomes steady enough to fade from thought, and the sky feels less like a subject and more like a presence. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. The object they would later call 3i Atlas had already endured more than any witness on Earth ever will. For billions of years it drifted through interstellar darkness shaped by gravity it never chose, and radiation it could never escape. When it finally crossed into our system, it did not announce itself with spectacle. It arrived as most truths do quietly. Then came perihelion, the closest approach to the sun, the most dangerous stretch of its long passage. At that moment, Atlas moved to a distance of roughly 220 million kilometers from the sun, a span comparable to the space between Earth and its star. Close enough for heat to matter, close enough for structure to change. Yet from our world, it vanished. The sun stood between us and the comet like a curtain of white fire. Telescopes on Earth could see nothing. The sky offered silence. Only a few patient watchers remained. Instruments designed not to see light but to refuse it. Observatories that mask the glare of the sun and study the surrounding space by subtraction rather than sight. They became the sole witnesses to Atlas at its most vulnerable moment. Silence is the universe thinking. What unfolded behind that brilliance was not destruction, nor was it simplicity. As Atlas passed through the hidden region near the sun, its behaviour began to diverge from expectation. The first sign came just before perihelion, in the days between October 20th and 25th. Atlas brightened. Not gradually, not politely. It surged. The increase followed a curve that startled even careful analysts. An inverse power of 7. A steepness rarely seen in objects like this. Such a rise suggested more than surface ice responding to warmth. It hinted at deeper processes layers exposed too quickly, or material released under stress rather than comfort. From the vantage point of Mars, the view would have been striking. From Earth, there was only data, and the quiet tension that follows it. Then, the colour changed. At first, Atlas had shown a green tone, a shade that lingered for weeks and resisted explanation. As it drew closer to the sun, that green faded. In its place appeared blue. Not the gentle blue of reflection, but a sharper hue, brighter than the sun itself when measured against surrounding dust. This shift suggested gases released under conditions that pushed the limits of ordinary models: cyanide, ammonia, molecules that glow when freed from cold storage and thrust into light. 3 changes of colour. 3 signals that Atlas was not merely warming, but responding. For the traveller listening now, this is the moment where certainty begins to loosen. Comets are often described as predictable messengers, frozen debris that awakens near heat, then sleeps again. Atlas refused that script. It released material at a rate far beyond familiar examples. It behaved as if its history mattered more than its surroundings. Images from the Very Large Telescope added another layer. The cloud around Atlas did not trail neatly behind it. Instead, gas and dust shifted shape, forming a stream that seemed to stretch toward the sun itself. As though the star were shaping the comet, pulling at its outer skin with invisible hands. Whether this was a normal interaction with magnetic fields or something less understood remains unanswered. Questions multiplied, but fear did not. Only curiosity tempered by restraint. Later, when the James Webb Telescope examined Atlas through infrared vision, the story deepened. Its surface bore the scars of a long exposure to radiation from deep space. For billions of years, high-energy particles had struck it, altering chemistry grain by grain. This slow bombardment built a dense crust perhaps 15 to 20 meters thick, a hardened layer, a record written without ink. This crust is not lifeless, it is memory. If a human foot were ever to rest upon Atlas far from the Sun, it would stand on material shaped by forces older than Earth. Not a dead surface, but a witness. Each particle carries the trace of time spent between stars. Each fracture tells of entropy at work. That same exposure explained another puzzle. Atlas released an unusually high amount of carbon dioxide. Early measurements defied expectation. Later analysis offered a quiet answer. Over immense spans of time, radiation transformed surface carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. Not quickly, not dramatically, slowly as the universe prefers. What we see now is not pristine origin, it is matter revised by endurance. This realization changed the way scientists speak about comets. No longer untouched relics, instead evolving archives. Objects shaped not only by birth, but by survival. Atlas carries chemistry that has been rewritten by time itself. As this part of the story settles, there is a calm that follows. Atlas survived its closest meeting with the Sun. But survival did not mean preservation. Something shifted. Something was revealed. It's all right to not understand. The comet continues outward, now intact yet altered, carrying questions rather than answers. In the silence after perihelion, as instruments cool and analysts wait, there is space to rest. The universe does not hurry explanations, neither should we. Let the thought drift with the comet for a while, and allow the night to grow quiet again. Silence is the universe thinking. When Atlas emerged from behind the Sun, there was no flash of triumph, no declaration that the mystery had resolved itself. Instead, there was a pause, a measurable stillness in the flow of expectation. Those who study the sky know this feeling well. It arrives when an object has passed through something irreversible, and now carries the imprint forward, subtle but undeniable. I have known these pauses in long nights of observation, when the glow of screens softens and the room feels suspended between data and meaning. The machines continue their patient work, cooling systems breathe, antennas track with quiet precision, and somewhere far beyond a body older than our world resumes its outward motion. Atlas survived perihelion, but survival was only the first sentence. What followed was quieter. The brightness that had surged so sharply before the closest approach did not return in the same way. Instead, emissions settled into a new pattern. Gas still flowed, dust still lifted, yet the rhythm had changed. Not weaker, simply altered. Like a voice that has spoken through fire and now carries a different tone. This is where attention matters more than excitement. Spectral readings continue to arrive, each one a thin thread of information pulled across unimaginable distance. Among them appeared a detail that would have been easy to overlook. A slight excess of nickel measured carefully and reported without drama. Nickel is not rare, but it is telling. Its presence reflects the environment where matter first condensed. Different stars leave different fingerprints. This detail did not shout. It whispered of an origin shaped near a star that lived and died long before our sun began its steady burning. A place where the balance of elements leaned just enough to leave a trace still visible today. For the listener drifting through this moment, consider how small that difference is and how vast its implications become when carried across billions of years. Atlas is not only ancient, it is specific. The hardened outer layer formed through relentless exposure to radiation from deep space, likely cracked under solar heat, not in collapse, in release. Microfractures opening pathways that had been sealed since the comet first cooled in its distant birthplace. Through those pathways came gases that had not interacted with sunlight before, molecules that had waited through epochs of darkness. What escaped was not merely material, it was context. Carbon dioxide flowed in unexpected abundance, not because Atlas was unusual in isolation, but because time had rewritten its surface chemistry. Cosmic radiation had slowly transformed simpler compounds into more complex ones. Not through intention, through persistence. Entropy at work, guided by physics indifferent to meaning. This realization reshaped how many now speak about wandering bodies like Atlas. They are no longer viewed as frozen snapshots of creation. They are dynamic archives, objects shaped by survival rather than stasis. That distinction matters. If matter evolves even in the emptiness between stars, then the universe is far less static than once imagined. Processes do not pause simply because no one is watching. They continue quietly, faithfully altering outcomes without announcing themselves. Another idea began to surface alongside these findings, one that had lingered at the edges of theory for years. The possibility that interstellar objects play a role in building planets. Planet formation has long carried an unresolved tension. Dust grains collide and grow, gradually increasing in size. Yet when they reach a certain scale, growth should fail. Impacts become destructive. Accumulation stalls. And still planets exist. One proposed resolution lies in capture. A solid body passing through a young star's surrounding disk could become embedded within it. Once there, it would act as a stable centre. Dust and pebbles would adhere rather than scatter. Growth would resume bypassing the barrier that stops smaller fragments. Atlas then becomes more than a visitor. It becomes an example, evidence that material can move between systems not as debris alone but as potential structure, a carrier of possibility. If this process has occurred even once, then worlds are not entirely isolated creations. They are collaborative results shaped by exchanges that span the galaxy. Matter borrowed. Matter shared. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. Atlas will not remain with us. Its path carries it outward, past the orbit of Jupiter, then beyond the influence of our Sun altogether. Its speed will increase. Its signal will fade. Soon it will become indistinguishable from the countless other objects drifting through the dark, and yet the data gathered during this brief encounter will continue to resonate. It will be analysed, questioned, debated, and slowly integrated into a broader understanding. Not as a revelation, but as a refinement. This is how knowledge advances. Not through certainty, but through adjustment. Those who follow such objects do not expect answers to arrive whole. They accept uncertainty as part of the discipline. There is humility in recognizing that some questions will outlast the tools used to ask them. Atlas teaches this gently. It shows that survival does not mean preservation, that passage through extremes leaves marks, that identity, even for a comet, is shaped by what it endures. As this segment draws to rest, allow the mind to slow with the comet. Imagine its trajectory extending outward away from warmth back into long silence. The emissions diminish. The fractures cool, the ancient crust settles into stillness once more. It's all right to not understand. The universe does not rush explanations. It offers moments instead, and then it moves on, leaving us with the quiet work of listening. Rest here now. The signal continues even as it fades. Silence is the universe thinking. After the instruments confirmed that Atlas remained intact after the last strong emissions were measured and catalogued, a different phase began. Not an ending, but a thinning. The comet continued outward along its trajectory, obedient to gravity, indifferent to attention. This is the part of the journey that rarely makes its way into memory. The quiet after survival. The long exhale after strain. I have always trusted this phase more than any other. The nights when nothing dramatic happens. When the data arrives steadily without surprise and the sky feels vast enough to hold unanswered questions without discomfort. In those hours, the universe feels less like a puzzle and more like a presence that allows us to listen. Atlas offered no final spectacle, no sudden fragmentation, no dramatic flare to mark its passage. Instead, it drifted away slowly, its activity tapering with restraint rather than collapse. Gas release diminished in careful gradients, dust production softened. The comet did not exhaust itself, it settled. This distinction matters. For the traveller listening now understand that stability after stress is not the same as unchanged. Atlas did not return to its earlier state. Its surface chemistry had shifted. Its outer crust carried fractures that would not simply close. Its emissions reflected a new balance, one shaped by heat radiation, and time interacting in ways that models are still learning to describe. Silence is not emptiness. It is aftermath. As Atlas moved farther from the sun, the influence of solar wind weakened. The magnetic shaping that once stretched its cloud toward the star relaxed its hold. The hazy structures observed near perihelion softened into more familiar forms. Yet even in this return to symmetry, subtle irregularities remained. Space does not erase experience, it integrates it. This period forced scientists into a different posture, no longer reacting, no longer chasing rapid change. Instead, they watched. They compared new readings with earlier ones. They revisited assumptions that had quietly shaped interpretation for decades. It is here that science becomes most honest. For many years, comets were described as relatively simple bodies, ice dust sunlight release. Atlas challenged that comfort. Its behaviour suggested layered complexity where radiation history mattered as much as current environment, where age influenced chemistry not through preservation, but through transformation. This realisation unsettled certain expectations, not because it invalidated past work, but because it revealed how narrow some frameworks had been. Atlas did not break the rules. It revealed that the rules were incomplete. Silence is the universe thinking. As attention shifted inward toward analysis rather than observation, broader questions surfaced. If Atlas represents a common class of objects rather than an anomaly, then interstellar space is not merely a corridor of emptiness. It is an active environment where matter continues to evolve long after formation. Radiation does not pause. Entropy does not wait. Chemistry does not require proximity to a star to proceed. These processes unfold patiently, shaping objects far from any system, far from any witness. This reframes how we think about origin. If matter changes between stars, then what arrives in the solar system is already a product of history rather than a preserved relic. Comets are not time capsules sealed at birth. They are journals edited continuously by exposure and endurance. Atlas embodies this idea quietly. As it drifted outward, its emissions grew faint but not meaningless. Each molecule released carried information about conditions long past. Each spectral line added nuance to a story that will never be fully reconstructed, only approached asymptotically. There is humility in that realization. Some have asked whether Atlas might carry organic compounds altered by radiation in ways that approach biological relevance. The data remains cautious, suggestions rather than claims, possibilities rather than conclusions. But even the framing of such questions marks a shift. It acknowledges that life's precursors may not be confined to planets or moons, that chemistry capable of complexity may arise in motion, shaped by time rather than place, that the universe experiments continuously without regard for outcome. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. Atlas will soon pass beyond Jupiter's orbit, accelerating as it escapes the sun's grip. After that, its presence will diminish rapidly. Its signal will merge with background noise. Its motion will become a calculation rather than an observation. And yet its influence will persist. Data gathered during this brief intersection will remain. It will be revisited by future researchers armed with better tools, new theories and questions shaped by discoveries yet to come. Atlas will become a reference point, a comparison, a reminder. This is how cosmic encounters endure, not through permanence but through imprint. I often reflect on the emotional undercurrent of such moments. There is a temptation to feel loss when an object departs, but loss implies ownership. Atlas was never ours. It allowed us proximity, not possession. The proper response is gratitude. Gratitude for the brief alignment of trajectories, for the chance to observe something older than Earth, without harm or consequence, for the reminder that survival does not guarantee sameness, and that change does not require destruction. As the nights grow quieter, and the instruments detect less, there is space to rest within the unanswered. Science does not demand closure. It thrives on patience, on the acceptance that some questions will outlive those who ask them. It's all right to not understand. As this segment comes to rest, let the stillness settle naturally. Atlas continues outward, carrying its altered structure into regions we will never see, and we remain here beneath familiar stars changed in subtle ways by the knowledge that something ancient passed close enough to be known. The silence is not an absence, it is a continuation, and within it the universe keeps thinking. Tonight the universe whispers again. By the time Atlas moved beyond the reach of constant observation, something fundamental had shifted not in the comet alone, but in the way it was being understood. The questions surrounding it no longer belonged only to astronomers tracking a rare visitor. They had begun to touch something broader, something quietly unsettling in its simplicity. I remember the moment this realization settles in. It is not sudden. It does not arrive with clarity or certainty. It forms slowly during long stretches of review when data is no longer new and attention is no longer sharpened by urgency. This is when meaning begins to surface. Atlas was no longer just an object of passage. It had become a reference. Its thick irradiated crust forced a reconsideration of what it means for matter to be ancient. Age, it turned out, is not measured only by time since formation, but by exposure, by what an object has endured, by how many storms of radiation have passed through it, by how many chemical rearrangements have occurred without heat, without light, without witnesses. The universe does not preserve things the way museums do. It reshapes them continuously. This realization carries a quiet weight. It suggests that nothing in space remains untouched no matter how far it drifts from stars. Even in darkness, forces are at work. Cosmic rays arrive from distant explosions, magnetic fields ripple invisibly, entropy advances without pause. Atlas did not escape these influences. It absorbed them, incorporated them, became something new without ever stopping. For the listener moving gently through this thought, there is a mirror here. We often imagine survival as stasis, as remaining the same despite pressure. Atlas offers a different truth. Survival is adaptation. Endurance is change accepted slowly. The comet's crust, once thought to be a simple barrier, revealed itself as a layered record. Not a seal, but a page. Each metre of hardened material carried evidence of countless interactions with the wide galaxy. Radiation had not merely damaged it, it had written upon it. This reframing alters how scientists now speak about interstellar objects. They are no longer described as pristine messengers from the past. They are survivors of it, carriers of processes, not snapshots of origin. That distinction opens difficult questions. If the outer layers of Atlas were so thoroughly transformed, then what lies beneath? Could untouched material still exist below the irradiated crust, ice preserved from a distant star system shielded for billions of years? Waiting only for a brief moment of heat to be revealed, perihelion may have offered such a moment. Not enough to destroy, just enough to loosen, to expose, to allow molecules long hidden to escape into detection. If so, then Atlas briefly became a bridge between eras, between the conditions of its birth and the present moment of observation. A thin intersection of time. Silence is the universe thinking. Another realization followed close behind. If objects like Atlas are common and current models suggest they may be, then the galaxy is threaded with material exchange. Star systems do not evolve in isolation. They share, they borrow, they lose. Interstellar comets may carry matter from one stellar nursery into another, not as deliberate messengers but as inevitable consequences of formation and instability. Systems eject debris, gravity captures wanderers. Over time, boundaries blur. This challenges a deeply held assumption that planets form solely from local material, that solar systems are self-contained stories. Atlas suggests otherwise. If even a fraction of planets begin around captured interstellar cores, then the story of Earth itself may include contributions from beyond our Sun's original disk, matter shaped elsewhere, chemistry influenced by distant stars. The realization is not frightening, it is humbling. It suggests that connection is fundamental, that isolation is the exception, that even worlds feel the influence of places they will never see. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. As Atlas continued outward, discussion shifted from observation to implication, from what happened to what it might mean. This is where speculation must be handled gently, with restraint, with humility. Some researchers have raised the possibility that prolonged radiation exposure could drive complex organic chemistry, not life itself, but precursors. Molecules rearranged slowly, patiently, until they reach states not easily achieved in warmer, more chaotic environments. Atlas's long journey through cold darkness may have allowed chemistry to explore pathways unavailable on planets. Billions of years offer opportunities no laboratory can replicate fully. If such compounds exist, they do not announce themselves dramatically. They hide within spectra, within faint signatures easily lost in noise. Discovering them would require time, patience, and tools still being refined. But the possibility alone reshapes perspective. It suggests that the ingredients of life may not be rare, that complexity does not require comfort, that the universe experiments even in its quietest corners. This does not confirm panspermia. It does not prove anything final. It simply widens the frame. It allows for the idea that organic matter may travel freely, shaped by radiation, gravity, and time until conditions align. The realization then is not about Atlas alone. It is about scale. Human understanding often seeks endpoints, conclusions, answers that settle questions permanently. Atlas resists that impulse. It offers instead a sequence of refinements, each discovery narrowing uncertainty without eliminating it. This is not failure. It is fidelity to reality. As this segment draws toward a rest, there is peace in accepting the limits of knowing. Atlas has shown that objects can survive extreme passage and yet emerge fundamentally altered. That identity in the cosmos is fluid, not fixed. We too are shaped by forces we do not control. Time, exposure, experience. We endure, and in enduring we change. It's all right to not understand. Let this realization settle without pressure. Atlas continues on its path, carrying its layered history into regions beyond our sight. And we remain here quietly transformed by the knowledge that survival is not about remaining unchanged, but about becoming something new. Rest in that thought. The universe does not demand certainty. It offers perspective. Tonight the universe whispers again. There is a quiet shift that happens when a story reaches its far edge. Not a conclusion, not an answer, but a release. Atlas has entered that space now. Its path is set. Its velocity is increasing. The sun's influence weakens with every passing hour, and gravity begins to loosen its hold. What remains is motion without attachment. This is not disappearance. It is return. Atlas is returning to the state it has known for most of its existence. Cold, distance, silence. The long intervals where time stretches so wide that change becomes almost philosophical. To us, its visit felt meaningful, dense with discovery. To Atlas, it was a brief warming, a fleeting brush with light in an otherwise endless night. I have learned over many years of watching the sky that departures like this deserve attention, precisely because they lack drama. The universe does not announce its transitions. It does not pause for reflection. It moves steadily indifferent to whether it is understood. By early next year, Atlas will pass near Jupiter. The giant planet will curve its trajectory slightly, not enough to claim it, only enough to remind it that forces still exist even at great distance. That small deflection will be the last significant interaction it has with our system. After that, the comet will accelerate outward, slipping beyond the planetary region, beyond the familiar architecture of orbits and names. Once that happens, observation becomes memory. The instruments will notice the change first. Signals thinning, spectral lines flattening, emissions falling below thresholds that justify continued tracking. One by one, observatories will turn their attention elsewhere, not from disinterest but from necessity. There are always more objects than time allows. Atlas will fade into calculations, into archived data sets, into future footnotes and comparative studies. Its presence will persist, but not as light on a sensor. As context. This is how cosmic encounters endure. For the listener resting in this moment, it is worth pausing on what that means. Atlas was never something to be kept. It was never an object meant to stay. It was an intersection, a brief alignment between a wandering body and a species capable of noticing. And noticing, once it happens, does not vanish. The data gathered during this encounter will continue to shape understanding. It will be reanalyzed as models improve, reinterpreted as new discoveries shift perspective. Atlas will quietly influence conversations long after it can no longer be seen. That influence will not be loud. It will be subtle, the kind that changes how questions are asked rather than how answers are framed. One of those questions remains unresolved and perhaps always will. Whether prolonged exposure to radiation in deep space can drive chemistry toward complexity beyond what we currently recognize. Not life, not intention, but preparation. Molecules rearrange slowly, patiently across billions of years, exploring pathways unavailable in warmer, more chaotic environments. Atlas does not confirm this possibility. It merely allows it. Its thick, irradiated crust suggests endurance beyond comfort. Its altered chemistry suggests transformation without guidance. Its survival through perihelion suggests resilience without purpose. Together, these qualities widen the frame through which we view the universe. They remind us that complexity does not require kindness, that creation does not require design. That time given enough freedom will explore every option allowed by physics. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. And now that something moves on, there is humility in accepting this without insistence on resolution, a willingness to let questions remain open not as failures but as accurate reflections of scale. The universe is not arranged for completion, it is arranged for continuation. I have often thought about how different this is from human storytelling. We seek arcs, beginnings, middles, endings. We want closure because it offers comfort. The cosmos offers something else. It offers sequences without conclusions, processes without finales. Atlas fits that pattern perfectly. It did not arrive to threaten. It did not arrive to deliver messages. It arrived because wandering is inevitable when gravity shapes motion across vast distances. Star systems form. They eject debris. Objects drift. Some pass close to other stars, most do not. Atlas passed close enough for us to notice. That may be its only distinction. As it recedes, the night sky returns to familiarity. The stars hold their positions. Constellations remain unchanged. Nothing about the view suggests that an object from another star system recently crossed our neighbourhood, and yet something has shifted. Not in the sky, but in perspective. We now understand more clearly that our system is not closed, that it receives visitors, that it participates in a broader circulation of matter across the galaxy. That isolation is an illusion born of limited observation. This realization does not diminish Earth. It places it. It situates our world within a larger context of exchange, transformation, and motion. It reminds us that the materials that form planets' atmospheres, and perhaps even living systems, are not confined to single origins. They travel, they mix, they endure. Atlas leaves behind no monument, no visible trace. Only understanding incomplete but expanded. That is enough. As the comet moves beyond detection, its altered structure carries forward into darkness, bearing the record of radiation, heat, and survival. It will drift for millions, perhaps billions of years more, passing through regions no instrument will ever reach, and we remain here beneath familiar stars, quieter for having noticed. It's all right to not understand. The universe does not ask us to solve it, only to listen when it passes close enough to be heard. Rest now. Atlas continues on. The story does not end. It simply moves beyond our sight. Traveller as Atlas drifts back into the long dark beyond our reach, something gentle settles in its wake. We have watched an ancient body pass through fire and silence, not unchanged, yet still whole. In its brief crossing, it offered no answers carved in certainty, only a deeper appreciation for how much the universe remembers and how patiently it reveals itself. A comet older than our sun reminded us that time does not erase stories, it reshapes them. What we have witnessed together is not an ending. The mystery of 3i Atlas continues far beyond our instruments, far beyond our questions. Somewhere in the quiet between stars, chemistry is still unfolding, matter is still wandering, and the universe is still thinking in ways we cannot hear all at once. There is humility in this realization. We are small beneath the sky, yet capable of listening. Fragile yet curious enough to follow a whisper across billions of years. To observe is already a form of participation. Tonight let that be enough. Every grain of cosmic dust carries memory. Every silence holds meaning. And every unanswered question keeps wonder alive. If this story found you tonight, you may stay for the next. Rest well. Stay curious. The universe will keep watch.